Isaiah, how are you?
I'm doing just fine. Thank you for taking my call.
Sure. What's up?
All right. So there's no debate that tithing is important, and at least 10% is what we're required to do. But I just got to a point where my tithing has gotten larger, and I've also noticed that through my local church, there is a statement at the bottom that shows how much I tithe, and I'm having a moral issue here on whether it is morally acceptable to claim what I tithe on my taxes.
Okay. I think you mean spiritually.
Yes.
Yeah. And so you're just checking your heart and going, am I doing this for the wrong reasons?
Yes.
No, that's a good question. I'm glad you're asking that of yourself. I actually wrestled through that one many years ago myself, and I kind of did it at the same point you did, when my tithe got a little larger, and I went, whoa, that's some money. I always wrote it off when it was small. I didn't think anything about it, but it was a big deal. It was a little bit bigger, and I went, yeah, that's like a big tax write-off. Here's the thing. I think you can ask yourself in prayer, honestly, before the Lord, if you are doing this because you feel like it is one of the disciplines, one of the things we do in our spiritual life that God tells us to do because it's good for us. In other words, am I being obedient? Or am I tithing because of the tax write-off? 99.99% of the time, someone who asks this question doesn't have the problem. It's the one who doesn't ask who might have the problem. Mm-hmm. The very fact that you had a tender enough heart to even ask the question tells me you're not doing this for the tax write-off. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay. If you're not doing it for the tax write-off, then it comes down to if I take the tax write-off, have I done something wrong? When the intent of your heart was you didn't do it for the tax write-off, you did it because giving is a part of your faith walk. Agreed?
Yes.
Okay. Then it comes down to me to stewardship. And in my mind, to be a good manager of money, one part of that is to keep the government's hands off of as much of it as possible, because they are not good managers of money. So sending them any money that I don't have to is by definition a bad manager of money. And so it's beyond, it is, in my mind, once I got there, I said to myself, I would not be spiritually correct to not take the write-off. Yeah. Because by sending them the money that when they misbehave with it is a bad use of God's money. I'm not managing his money well by sending it to someone that's wasteful.
Right.
When I don't have to.
Yeah.
Now, I wouldn't lie about it, and I wouldn't cheat, and and I have incredible integrity on my taxes. It's ridiculous how much integrity I have. Every stinking little dollar and piece of cash and everything is counted. We don't let anything slip under the table. Not because I'm afraid of an audit, but because I want to be honorable before the Lord. And have integrity about my taxes. But integrity also includes paying as little in taxes as the law allows because they're bad managers. How's that sound?
That sounds a lot better.
But I have run into people in doing what we do, and Chris, you probably have too. And usually it is where there's some size to the giving.
Yeah.
That the reason they're giving is for the tax write-off, which, by the way, is bad math, but also it's really bad spiritually.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I run into people who are giving because they want to be noticed.
Yes.
And that's, I want my name on the building, or I want, I demand this or I demand that. Now, we've put our name on a few things when we did giving, but it wasn't like that was not our motivation.
Wasn't your heart, yeah. Isaiah, you're in the right place, buddy. And I think, as your income grows, the dollar amount's going to continue to grow, and you're totally fine to be able to claim that on your taxes as you move forward.
Let me give you another prediction. Okay, Isaiah, I got you. A guy who asks this question is managing the money well, because you're sensitive to what God's use of the money is. And are you in his will? Are you doing that? That makes you an excellent manager, and I will give you a prediction that your money will grow because you're an excellent manager.
Yeah, I agree.
The parable of the talents tells me that those who manage well will be given more to manage.
Yep.
And those who don't manage well are given less to manage.
Yep.
And actually, that's God.
Yeah.
And so there's a wealth inequality thing for you right there. That'll mess you up.
Well, and he'll also be very aware of how the church is using the funds and what they're doing, how they're impacting the community. And so your heart's in the right place, bud.
Yeah, very good. I love that question. I haven't had that one in a long time. Thank you for calling in with that. You know, Chris, I'll take that a step further. I want to continue that discussion a minute because one of the things I find is, and you and I have both observed this, see if you agree with this statement, that people who have a very noble reason, a higher calling, so to speak, for handling their money well, have a more of a tendency for handling it well.
No, I would completely agree.
So in other words, if I want to change my family tree, so I'm doing this for the good of my kids, so that my kids don't have to grow up. I grew up poor. Some guy says I didn't, but I mean, I grew up middle class. But if you grow up poor and you say, well, I don't want my kids to have to grow up that way, that's a higher calling. That's a nobility. It's not selfish. It's not, I want to get wealthy so I can get a car.
Right.
It's not wealthy. I want to get wealthy so I can go to St. Lucia. You know, that's not your reason. That's a fairly shallow reason. It's an okay thing to do, but if that's all the bigger a reason you have, you're not going to go. But probably the highest calling, the most noble calling, are when a person of faith says, I've got to do this because this is what God requires. It's not my money. I'm managing it for him, and I've been doing a bad job managing his money, and I've got to straighten my act up. When they have that kind of motivation, those are some of the people who will sacrifice the deepest in order to win. They're the ones, their budget is clean. They're not cheating. There's no ish ever comes up in their language because the nobility of their why is so high.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the gauge. That's the thing that keeps them on that track and won't let them veer off. You know, they are intentional. And that's I remember having that awakening some 15, 16 years ago.
You know, the other thing that does, for those of you out there that are people of faith, okay, when you take that position, then you're no longer taking a poll from your parents who turn their nose up or roll their eyes, or your friends who go, oh, yeah, well, nobody ever gets out of debt. You're like, I'm not taking a poll because I'm not doing this for you.
That's right.
I'm not doing this for your approval. I'm not even doing it for my own approval. I'm doing this because I feel like this is what God requires.
That's right.
Because the borrower is slave to the lender.
That's right. And people don't get a vote.
You know, and it just your need to please other people goes away.
It goes away.
In tandem with you having that level of higher calling.
Sure does.
And that's another element that causes people to win. When you are trying to be a people pleaser and everybody in your freaking life has a vote.
Yeah.
And you're trying to impress them.
Yeah.
You're trying to make them think you're cool. You're doing whatever. You're keeping up with the Joneses or the Instagrams or the Kardashians or whatever it is. You're trying to be that person. You are never going to have any money.
That's right.
You're going to be broke your whole freaking life.
Yep.
And, you know, part of not needing to please other people sometimes is having something bigger to please.
I like that.
And that's you know, I have seen that with my fellow believers, the ones who say, okay, I've got to do this because this is what God says to do. And I want to stand before him and hear, well done, good and faithful service. When I manage his money, I want to feel him smiling by the way I did it, with my generosity, with my diligence. It causes you to get a will. It causes you to get life insurance. It causes you to be on a budget. It causes you to get out of debt. It causes you to buy things more carefully and wisely. It changes everything.
It does change it all, and it's so worth it.